Ever feel like you've seen it all? Think again, because these 20 banned or censored films from the 1980s are about to flip your cinema world upside down. Once shrouded in controversy, pulled from theaters, or chopped to bits by censors, these provocative classics are finally free to stream and waiting for you to rediscover them. Ready to push your movie boundaries? Buckle up, film lovers. Let's dive into the wild side of the 80s. A Clockwork Orange, 1971, UK re-release in the 80s. A dystopian symphony of violence and control, A Clockwork Orange follows the ultra-violent Alex and his droogs as they wade through a bleak future England, indulging in mayhem until state-sponsored rehabilitation turns everything upside down. The real kicker? Stanley Kubrick himself withdrew the film from UK distribution in 1973, but it roared back on home video in the 80s, unleashing a new wave of controversy. Starring Malcolm McDowell in a career-defining hypnotic role and helmed by Kubrick's razor-sharp vision, this film's stylized ultraviolence and unsettling social commentary made it a lightning rod for censors across the globe. Its classical score, iconic costumes, and inventive language set it apart from anything else on screen. Behind the scenes, Kubrick faced threats against his family, which led to the ban in the UK for almost 3 decades. Critics and politicians clashed over whether it incited violence or simply reflected society's darker urges. Today, A Clockwork Orange is hailed as a masterpiece, a chilling, electrifying vision that still stings. Loving this so far? Just wait until you see what's next. Cannibal Holocaust, 1980. Ready for a test of your cinematic bravery? Cannibal Holocaust is a notorious shocker that pushes every boundary, and then some. The film follows a rescue team into the Amazon as they search for a missing documentary crew, only to uncover the horrifying footage they left behind. Director Ruggero Deodato's guerrilla filmmaking, blending staged and real footage, created a terrifying sense of realism. The cast, including Robert Kerman and Francesca Ciardi, was sworn to secrecy, fueling rumors that the on-screen violence, especially the infamous animal scenes, was genuine. Italian authorities even arrested Deodato for murder before the cast appeared in court alive. Banned in over 40 countries for its graphic violence and cruelty, Cannibal Holocaust is the poster child for video nasties. Yet its found footage format inspired countless modern horror films. Now, thanks to streaming, you can decide for yourself. Just don't watch it while eating dinner. Pink Flamingos, 1972, US VHS boom in 80s. If you thought the midnight movie scene couldn't get any weirder, meet Pink Flamingos, John Waters' cult eruption of filth, mayhem, and glorious bad taste. Divine, the drag legend, stars as Babs Johnson, competing to be the filthiest person alive, a quest that involves everything from chicken mayhem to, well, the infamous final scene. John Waters' cast of Baltimore outsiders, including Mink Stole and Edith Massey, created a cinematic fever dream that was instantly banned or censored in multiple countries and yanked from theaters. Yet the film's underground VHS release in the 80s fueled its legendary status. Pink Flamingos was condemned by moral watchdogs even as art critics praised its boundary-pushing satire. Waters' loving tribute to trash culture is now essential viewing for cult aficionados. Are you prepared for this mind-bending ride? Keep watching. The Evil Dead, 1981. Low budget? No problem. Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead took horror backwoods with a vengeance, following a group of friends whose cabin retreat devolves into a nightmare when they unleash demonic spirits. Bruce Campbell's ash, all-quivering chin and chainsaw bravado became an instant genre icon. Raimi's inventive camera work, gruesome practical effects, and relentless energy turned The Evil Dead into an instant cult sensation. But its splattery excess, especially the notorious tree scene, got it banned or cut in several countries, earning it a spot on the UK's Video Nasties list. With a micro-budget of around $375,000, Raimi and crew famously slept in the cabin, using whatever was at hand for effects. Critics and horror fans now celebrate it as a masterclass in DIY horror. Thanks to streaming, Ash's first battle against the Deadites is back, funnier, freakier, and more fiendishly fun than ever. Possession, 1981. How about a love story twisted into pure psychological horror? Possession is a delirious fever dream starring Isabella Gianni and Sam Neill as a couple whose marriage unravels into madness, espionage, and Lovecraftian terror on the shadowy streets of Berlin. Directed by Polish master Andrzej Żuławski, the film was trimmed, banned, or outright denounced for its unflinching portrayal of breakdown and body horror. Gianni's performance, especially the infamous subway scene, remains one of cinema's most ferocious, earning her a Best Actress award at Cannes. Rumors swirled about the film's allegorical take on Cold War paranoia and personal trauma. Critically panned on release, Possession is now a cult favorite, revered for its razor-sharp emotion and otherworldly atmosphere. Still with us? We're just getting started. The Last Temptation of Christ, 1988. Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ reimagined the life of Jesus in raw, human terms, with Willem Dafoe's sensitive, soul-searching performance at the center. This adaptation of Nikos Kazantzakis' novel explores Christ's doubts, fears, and temptations, igniting firestorms of protest before it even hit theaters. Scorsese fought for years to get this film made, with Universal Studios backing out at the last minute before independent funding revived it. The cast, including Harvey Keitel and Barbara Hershey, brought a fierce, modern sensibility. Religious groups worldwide protested, leading to bans in several countries and even a bombing at a Paris theater. Despite box office struggles, The Last Temptation of Christ is now regarded as a profound, deeply human meditation on faith and sacrifice. Streaming finally makes it widely available, so you can judge its power for yourself. Threads, 1984. Imagine a docudrama so harrowing it makes you question reality. Welcome to Threads, the BBC's unflinching depiction of nuclear war's aftermath on everyday citizens in Sheffield. No Hollywood gloss, no melodrama, just raw devastation and chilling realism. Directed by Mick Jackson with an ensemble cast led by Karen Meager and Rhys Dinsdale, Threads stunned viewers with its documentary-style horror and bleak honesty. The film's production used real locations and non-actors for authenticity, and British authorities hesitated to rebroadcast it for years due to its traumatic effect. Critics were awestruck, and the film's legacy as the most realistic depiction of nuclear apocalypse persists. It was rarely shown outside the UK until the streaming era, making it essential viewing for anyone brave enough to face humanity's darkest hour. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 2, 1986. If you thought Leatherface was terrifying the first time, get ready for the gonzo pitch-black comedy of Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Stretching the original's primal horror into grotesque satire, the sequel amps up the gore and gallows humor as radio DJ Stretch, Caroline Williams, faces the Sawyer family's bloody madness. Dennis Hopper, all wild eyes and chainsaw-swinging rage, brings a manic energy, while Tom Savini's makeup effects serve up splatter on an epic scale. The film was hacked to pieces by censors worldwide, with some countries refusing to release it for years. Initially reviled for its tonal shift, Chainsaw 2 is now beloved for its transgressive spirit and midnight movie bravado. Streaming has brought it roaring back. Are you ready to dance with the devil in Texas? Angel Heart, 1987. What happens when film noir collides with supernatural horror? You get Angel Heart, a moody, hallucinatory thriller starring Mickey Rourke as a private eye drawn into a web of voodoo, murder, and existential dread in 1950s New Orleans. Robert De Niro's chilling turn as the enigmatic Louis Cifre adds extra bite. Director Alan Parker's adaptation of William Hjortsberg's novel was censored for its explicit violence and sexuality, especially a now iconic love scene between Rourke and Lisa Bonet. The MPAA threatened an X rating, forcing cuts before its U.S. release. Despite controversy and middling box office, Angel Heart has developed a fierce cult following, with critics lauding its razor-sharp atmosphere and unforgettable twists. Now streaming, it's a hypnotic descent into darkness you can't afford to miss. If, 1968, censored and re-released in the 80s. What happens when rebellion explodes within the hallowed halls of an English public school? Lindsay Anderson's If is an incendiary satire that follows Malcolm McDowell's Mick Travis as he leads a surreal revolt against oppressive tradition. Though released in 1968, it was censored and often suppressed in the 80s as school violence fears resurfaced. Come and See, 1985. Brace yourself. Come and See is perhaps the most unflinching anti-war film ever made. Soviet director Elim Klimov leads us through the horrors of the Nazi invasion of Belarus, seen through the eyes of a traumatized boy. Raw, unsparing, and achingly beautiful, this film was nearly buried by Soviet censors. Alexei Kravchenko's lead performance, filmed in real war-torn locations, anchors the devastation. Klimov fought state authorities for years, finally releasing the film in 1985 with minimal distribution and almost no publicity. Although virtually unknown in the West for decades, Come and See is now recognized as a masterpiece, one that lingers long after the credits roll. Thanks to streaming, its harrowing power is finally within reach. Still with us? The journey's just heating up. Videodrome, 1983. Ready to experience the future of horror by way of 1983? David Cronenberg's Videodrome is a razor-sharp meditation on media addiction, body horror, and technology gone wild. James Woods stars as a sleazy cable TV exec who stumbles onto a broadcast signal that warps reality itself. Cronenberg's fearless direction and Debbie Harry's enigmatic performance fuse practical effects and unsettling ideas into a film that censors just couldn't handle. Graphic violence, sexual content, and mind-bending concepts led to bans and edits in multiple countries. Despite flopping at the box office, Videodrome became a cult touchstone for cyberpunk and horror fans. Cronenberg's vision predicted our obsession with screens, making this a must-watch for anyone curious about the dark side of technology. Akira, 1988. Animation like you've never seen. Akira, Katsuhiro Otomo's sci-fi epic, unleashed an explosion of color, chaos, and psychic mayhem onto the world. Set in a dystopian Neo-Tokyo, the story follows biker gangs, psychic children, and government conspiracies, all rendered in jaw-dropping hand-drawn animation. Otomo's direction and a team of more than 70 animators created over 160,000 cells, an industry record. The film was heavily censored for violence and nudity in several countries, and its North American VHS release faced editing battles throughout the 80s. Though it struggled at the Japanese box office, Akira gained cult status worldwide, transforming perceptions of animation. Now it's streaming in all its glory. Neon-lit, mind-blowing, and utterly unforgettable. Are you ready to ride? Faces of Death, 1978, VHS craze in the 80s. If you dare to look behind the curtain of mortality, Faces of Death is the taboo tape that launched 1,000 playground rumors. Marketed as a shockumentary of real-life death scenes, though many were staged, director John Allen Schwartz's work was banned in dozens of countries. Host Michael Carr guides viewers through staged executions, accidents, and bizarre rituals. Though fake, the footage's rawness blurred lines between fact and fiction, igniting outrage from censors and moral guardians. It became a staple of the 80s VHS underground, traded and copied endlessly. Despite scathing reviews, Faces of Death became an infamous cult hit. Streaming now, it's a fascinating relic of analog horror and a stark reminder of cinema's power to provoke. Tenebre, 1982. Prepare for a stylish slice of Italian horror. Dario Argento's Tenebre follows an American author in Rome, pursued by a black-gloved killer as fiction bleeds into reality. Argento's visual flair, sweeping camera moves, bold colors, and inventive murder scenes set new standards for the giallo genre. The film starred Anthony Franciosa, John Saxon, and Argento muse Daria Nicolodi. Behind the scenes, censors targeted the violence, with UK and German versions chopped to ribbons or banned outright. Argento's love of practical gore effects only fueled the furor. Critics initially recoiled, but Tenebre gained a feverish cult following, especially in its uncut form. Streaming brings you Argento's razor-sharp nightmare as it was meant to be seen. Unfiltered, unsettling, unforgettable. Robocop 1987. Half man, half machine, all chaos. Paul Verhoeven's Robocop is a satirical, ultra-violent sci-fi ride through the crime-ridden streets of future Detroit. Peter Weller stars as the titanium-tough lawman, fighting criminals and corporate overlords with explosive force. Verhoeven pushed boundaries, earning an X rating for violence before edits softened the impact. The cast, including Nancy Allen and Kurtwood Smith as the iconic villain Clarence Boddicker, deliver powerhouse performances. Rob Bottin's dazzling practical effects make every gunshot count. Though controversial, Robocop smashed the box office and became a VHS favorite, later finding new life in memes and reboots. Now streaming in its uncut glory, it's a cyberpunk essential. Dead or alive, you're coming with us to the next pick. Battle Royale, 2000, but banned and censored, in 80s, 90s, Japan. Wait, you're thinking, Battle Royale is from 2000, right? Correct, but its controversial subject matter was so taboo in Japan, the groundwork for censorship was laid in the 80s, when concerns about violence and youth rebellion dominated. This explosive tale of school kids forced into a deadly game is often cited as the forbidden fruit for an entire generation. Directed by Kinji Fukasaku, the film stars Tatsuya Fujiwara and Chiaki Kuriyama and was adapted from Kushin Takami's shocking novel. Its release was delayed, censored, and protested, especially in the wake of school violence scandals. Now a legend in its own right, Battle Royale influenced everything from The Hunger Games to Squid Game. Once forbidden, it's finally streaming, and you won't believe what you've been missing. The Exorcist 3, 1990, banned in several 80s territories due to franchising. George C. Scott leads this chilling return to demonic horror, written and directed by William Peter Blatty, the original Exorcist author. Though released in 1990, The Exorcist 3 faced pre-release bans and edits throughout the 80s as studios battled over franchise rights and moral watchdogs demanded cuts. Scott's performance is a masterclass in slow-burn terror, while Brad Dourif's villainous turn is unforgettable. Behind the scenes, legendary conflicts erupted between Blatty and studio heads over the ending, resulting in reshoots. Despite a rocky box office debut, the film has been embraced by horror aficionados for its cerebral chills and jaw-dropping scares. Streaming means you can finally experience this underrated gem as intended. The Devils, 1971, withdrew and censored for decades, unbanned in the 80s, VHS boom. Ken Russell's The Devils is a fever dream of religious mania, political intrigue, and sensual excess in 17th century France. Oliver Reed and Vanessa Redgrave headline a cast that's equal parts brilliant and unhinged. Based on real events, the film's blend of sex, violence, and church critique made it a prime target for bans worldwide. Russell fought censors tooth and nail, with Warner Brothers locking the full version away for decades. It was only during the 80s VHS explosion that fans glimpsed the director's true vision, albeit in grainy, battered prints. Hailed by critics and condemned by religious authorities, The Devils remains a lightning rod. Streaming finally brings this forbidden classic out of the shadows. Scarface, 1983. Last but never least, Brian De Palma's Scarface is an operatic crime saga drenched in neon and blood. Al Pacino's volcanic turn as Tony Montana electrified audiences, but the film's tidal wave of violence, profanity, and excess made the MPAA balk, forcing multiple cuts and resulting in bans in several countries. Michelle Pfeiffer and Stephen Bauer round out a legendary cast, and Oliver Stone's script crackles with raw energy. De Palma's epic vision was misunderstood at first, panned by critics and moral crusaders. But Scarface roared back as a cultural touchstone, embraced by hip-hop artists, quoted by everyone, and endlessly referenced. Now uncut and streaming, say hello to your new little friend, cinematic legend, finally free. What a ride through the wildest corners of 80s cinema. Each of these once banned or censored films is a portal into untamed creativity, bold storytelling, and unforgettable controversy. Hungry for more cinematic gold? Smash that subscribe button, ring the bell, and drop your favorite cult classic in the comments. Movieverse is your ticket to more hidden treasures and under-the-radar masterpieces. So stay tuned, because the best forgotten films are just a click away. Keep the conversation alive, and I'll see you next time on the ultimate journey through cinema's secret history.